It is August 31st, and I do not think I'm going to get any more books in August. So let's talk about all the books that I acquired. August was an interesting month because one of the book sales that I wanted to go to in July was canceled. It was postponed and I ended up going to it in August, so I got quite a few books there. We also took a trip to Long Beach Island and I picked up quite a few books at little free libraries there. I have a video coming out about the Long Beach Island little free libraries. For 2022, I made a recently acquired books spreadsheet and I'm keeping track of multiple different data analysis from that. And every month I am doing a recently acquired books video about the books that I have too, so that is just another way to keep track. And I also have a video talking all about my recently acquired books spreadsheet. Let's get started. These are definitely in no particular order, except I'm starting with short books that could be read for Shorty September or for Novella November. Some of these are a little bit over novella length, but they're shorties. At a little free library in Long Beach Island, I got Sights Unseen by Kay Gibbons. I read a Kay Gibbons book, Ellen Foster, and I thought the writing style was really interesting. I didn't love that book. I didn't love Ellen Foster, but I wanted to see if Kay Gibbons' writing style was all like that or if it was different. It seems like for the majority of things besides Ellen Foster, she writes like women's fiction. So I believe this is a women's historical fiction book set in the South, and I'll be interested to at least give it a try. Next, I got a very strange book called Inspector Sato's Small Satori. This is by Jan William de Watering, and this is a Swedish or Norwegian book, I believe, some kind of Nordic book. I think about a futuristic Japan. It just sounded really interesting. It has a very cool cover, and it was quite short. I got this at a library sale and it just seemed really interesting to me. I don't really know much about the book or the author, but I'm excited to find out more. I haven't read any Jean Rhys yet, but I got Voyage in the Dark. I had bookmarked this on my want to read list on Goodreads, which you can always find. My Goodreads list is down below. And although I have never read any Jean Rhys, I'm really excited to. I also have her more famous work, which is a retelling of Jane Austen or a reimagining of Jane Austen, The Wide Sargasso Sea. All her books seem to be quite short. I really like The Mountain Goats, and John Darnielle is the lead singer and creator of The Mountain Goats. I knew that he had several novels. I don't know if you'd see, it's really shiny. And I found this one in a little free library. I really have no idea what this particular book is about. It is called Universal Harvester. Maybe sounds like sci-fi, maybe sounds like futuristic, maybe sounds like post-apocalyptic, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to try out his writing and see if I like him as much as an author as I do as a musician. I have also never read any Virginia Woolf, but I got A Room of One's Own at the Bradley Beach Library sale. This is looks like a high school copy. It's got writing on it. It's got annotations. It's just very cute and tiny. I have Mrs. Dalloway to read as well, so hopefully I'll get to one of these books pretty soon and know if I'm a Virginia Woolf fan. At the same book sale, I got Wildtown by Jim Thompson. I've read a couple of other Jim Thompson books. I really like The Grifters, and he is an American noir writer. I really like noir. I like that it's mysterious and short, so I'm excited to eventually get to this along with some of the other noir books that I have. In a little free library in Belmar, New Jersey, I found The Quarry by Damon Galgut. He is most famous for The Promise, which won the Booker Prize, I believe. This is one of his earlier works, and it's extremely short chapters, like a page or a page and a half. Damon Galgut is South African, a white South African author, so I'm excited to read more of his work. The Promise also sounds really interesting to me. The Promise is about someone promising someone a house, and that sounds like an interesting time too. Totally random, have no idea what it's about, is Return to Poe by John Eric Hardeen. This is a very short indie published book. I'm not even really sure who the publisher is, but I really enjoyed the cover. Definitely giving like sci-fi fantasy vibes, so I want to try this one. Another book from a little free library in Belmar, New Jersey is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White. Kiersten White does mostly YA, and this is a YA book. This is actually a proof of this book. I don't usually read YA, but I did see Books and Lala read this one and really like it. And since I read Frankenstein earlier this year, I thought it would be interesting to read a book that was kind of a retelling of Frankenstein, a sequel to Frankenstein, but told from Elizabeth's perspective. Another maybe YA book or a new adult book that I wasn't super interested in, but I did grab from a book sale is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This is about a young woman who is, so I guess it's new adult because she has just recently got her PhD. And she is kind of at a loss for what to do next in her life now that her schooling is over. She takes a trip to Las Vegas and she gets married to a stranger. At a little free library in Mystic, New Jersey, I got Mina, and this is The Dracula Story Continues by Marie Curali. This just seems like a Dracula sequel, but from Mina's perspective, and again, just seemed fun and silly. I liked this old, like, 1980s mass market paperback, and although it is, like, quite long, I think this is going to be, like, a silly, fluffy read. This probably would have been a really good one to read for Garbogust, but I didn't get a chance. At a little free library in Long Beach Island, I found Still Life in Harlem by Eddie L. Harris. This is a nonfiction book of a young man's travels through Harlem and learning about the culture and history of that Manhattan suburb. Also at a little free library in Long Beach Island, I found The Ones We Were Meant to Find by Joan He. This is a young adult, again, I picked up a little bit of young adult this month, cli-fi book that no one really liked. It's about two sisters. One is stuck on an island and one is trying to find the other, and it's how they got separated and how they come back together. At the Bradley Beach Library Sale, I got A Keeper by Graham Norton. I have no idea what this book is about, but I've heard good things about Graham Norton's writing, so I wanted to pick one up. I really, really enjoy this cover, and I did have this on my want to read list, so at some point I must have known the synopsis, and at some point I must have wanted to read it. I also got The Things We Lost to the Water, which is by Eric Noonan. This is a story set in New Orleans. I think it's like a family and coming of age story. I know my friend Haley read this and really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to get to this one, and I'm excited to get to all books set in New Orleans. Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillerman I got at the Bradley Beach Library Sale, but I don't know if I want to keep this one. I picked it up because it's a book of the month. I picked it up because it's a thriller. I picked it up because I heard people talking about it, but it's a domestic thriller about a woman, I think, whose husband dies, and she didn't do it, but everybody thinks she did. And I don't really love domestic thrillers, but there was something about this that seemed interesting. It's hard to resist a book of the month for like 25 cents. Maybe I will keep it and read it. Maybe I won't. This might be a good one to try a chapter with. I haven't read any Charlotte McConaughey yet, but I do have Migrations, and I know that a lot of the booktubers that I love really loved Migrations. I don't think they loved Once There Were Wolves quite as much, but I did pick it up when I saw it because her books are quite short and they kind of are all cli-fi themed, and I think I'm really going to like her writing. I have no clue and have never heard of The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin, but the cover was super pretty. I picked this up in a little free library, and it turns out that it is part historical fiction, part current, about witches or people with magic in, I think, New York. Yeah, in New York. So that sounded like something I might want to try. Maybe this would be good for a try a chapter 2. I don't know what Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin is about, but I do know that everybody loves it and everybody cries. I know that it's science fiction, and I know that this cover is stunning. So when I saw it in a little free library, I didn't hesitate to pick it up. I'm super excited to get to this one, even though it's just over 400 pages long. Very long book for me, but I am super excited to get this one. And it's just so pretty. At the library sale, I got World Treasury of Mushrooms in Color. This is a very old, probably from the 60s or 70s book, nonfiction book about mushrooms. Who knows if I'm going to read this one all the way through. It might just get put right on my reference shelf, but it was too beautiful to pass up. I love these old books, and these color illustrations are just gorgeous. At a little free library on Long Beach Island, I got A Pine Barrens Odyssey by Howard P. Boyd. New Jersey is pretty famous for having pine barrens, which are an extremely unique ecosystem having to do with pine trees. Lots of wonderful creatures live in the pine barrens, and lots of plants that don't grow anywhere else grow in the pine barrens. So this is a naturalist year in the pine barrens of New Jersey, and it's just a nonfiction book with pictures about this particular person, Howard P. Boyd's time in the Pine Barrens. This might be a good one for nonfiction November. New Jersey nonfiction November. Another interesting nonfiction I got was Daughters of the Goddess, The Women Saints of India by Linda Johnson. Now this seems like Linda Johnson is an independent author or a small press author or possibly an academic author who traveled in India, and this is about her time traveling in India. Also about the women saints or spiritual leaders, or I'm not sure what they're called in India, of India. So this one just seemed, again, pretty short. It is a little bit dense looking, but it just seemed like a really interesting one. Penultimately, we have Castle by David Macaulay. This is a children's book about medieval castles, and it has a lot of interworkings of the castle. I'm not sure if this is fiction or nonfiction, but it has these really gorgeous line drawings, and I picked this one up at a little free library. It has a lot more actual writing than I thought it was going to have, so I was hoping to read it like right away, but I think this is quite an informational book, but I'm excited to read it. And then very last but not least, I have Stephen King's Night Shift. I picked this up from a little free library in Bradley Beach, New Jersey, and honestly, I have no intention of reading this book at all. I have only ever read one Stephen King book, and I'm satisfied with that. I don't think I need to read any more Stephen King books, but this one is a short story collection, and I think Kevy recently read this one. It has some of the famous Cat's Eye, the stories that were in Cat's Eye the movie, in it, but I solely and only picked it up for this cover because this cover is amazing, and it just needs to be facing out on my bookshelf, and it just needs to have a place of honor because it's incredible. So creepy, so weird, so great. So those were all the books that I picked up in August. Some of them I purchased, most of them I got for free. You can also watch the video where I explain my recently acquired books, my RAB spreadsheet, and see how I've been keeping track of all my recently acquired books in 2022. How many books did you acquire in August? Is there a month of the year where you acquire more books? Are you going to library sales? Are you going to book sales? Is summer a bumper crop of collecting books for you, or do you save your book acquiring for cold months when you need a little pick-me-up? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye!